Have you ever felt that pull of home? You know, that deep connection to a place
Well,
where
yeah.
your roots run deepest.
Absolutely.
Imagine that feeling magnified a thousandfold.
Wow.
That's the story we're diving into today. The story of two Native American tribes,
Okay.
the Nez Perce and the Ponca,
Mm-hmm.
and their fight to hold on to their ancestral lands in the face of relentless westward expansion.
It's a story that often gets overshadowed by, all the tales of pioneers and gold rushes,
Yeah.
but it's such a crucial part of American history,
Right.
one that reveals the human cost of manifest destiny.
We're going to be unpacking diaries and legal proceedings and firsthand accounts to try to understand not just what happened,
Right.
but how these events still reverberate even today.
And it's fascinating how initially both the Nez Perce and the Ponca had relatively peaceful relationships with white settlers.
Yeah.
The Lewis and Clark expedition, for example, even praised the Nez Perce for their hospitality. They relied on their guidance and support as they navigated unfamiliar territory.
It makes the subsequent betrayals and broken treaties all the more tragic, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. It's almost like a microcosm of the entire history of westward expansion.
Yeah.
Initial cooperation followed by broken promises and displacement.
Yeah, it's a pattern we see repeated time and again
Right.
as more settlers arrive, driven by gold fever and the promise of land. The pressure on Nez Perce territory just intensified.
Yeah.
And that's where those treaties that were intended to establish clear boundaries ended up sowing the seeds of conflict.
I'm really curious about the Nez Perce perspective on these treaties.
Right.
Their relationship with the land was so deeply spiritual.
Yeah,
So different from the European concept of ownership.
right.
How do they reconcile these fundamentally different worldviews?
It was a recipe for misunderstanding from the start.
Yeah.
The 1855 treaty, for instance, was signed by some Nez Perce leaders,
Oh,
but vehemently rejected by others, including Old Joseph, a prominent leader of the Wallowa Band.
okay.
He viewed the land as a living entity inseparable from their identity and way of life,
Yeah.
something that could never be traded away.
So this internal division within the Nez Perce, was that exploited by the government
Absolutely.
to push through these land cessions?
The government often negotiated with whichever leaders were most amenable to their terms,
Right.
even if those leaders didn't represent the majority or have the authority to make decisions for the entire tribe.
Mm-hmm.
The 1863 treaty, which aimed to shrink the Nez Perce reservation even further,
Right.
just amplified those internal divisions.
Yeah.
Some leaders signed hoping to preserve some semblance of their traditional way of life,
Mm-hmm.
while others saw it as a blatant land grab.
And this is where Chief Joseph enters the picture,
Yeah.
inheriting this legacy of broken treaties and escalating tensions
Mm-hmm.
when he takes over leadership of the Wallowa Band from his father.
Chief Joseph was an extraordinary figure,
Right.
a man of peace who also possessed incredible strategic acumen. He understood the growing threat, but he initially focused on diplomacy and peaceful resistance.
Yeah.
He even traveled to Washington, D.C. to plead his case directly to President Grant,
Wow.
but his efforts ultimately proved futile.
So what were the flashpoints that ultimately ignited the conflict,
Well,
that pushed things past the point of negotiation?
there were a number of factors.
Okay.
Settlers continued to encroach on Nez Perce land,
Right.
often with impunity.
Yeah.
There were incidents of cattle theft,
Yeah.
harassment, and even violence directed at Nez Perce men and women.
Wow.
A particularly tragic event involved a young Nez Perce man named Shore Crossing
Oh.
and his cousins who were attacked by settlers.
Oh, no.
The lack of justice for these crimes created a simmering rage that eventually boiled over.
And this brings us to 1877 and the outbreak of the Nez Perce War,
Right.
triggered by the killing of several settlers by a small group of Nez Perce men.
It's important to remember the context here.
Yeah.
Years of broken promises, the loss of their land and way of life. The constant threat of violence had pushed some to a breaking point, while Chief Joseph himself was a staunch advocate for peace.
Right.
He understood the desperation that fueled those actions.
So this is where we really see Chief Joseph's leadership come to the fore,
Exactly.
as he's forced to make these impossible choices to protect his people.
The Nez Perce, facing a far larger and better equipped U.S. Army,
Right.
embarked on a remarkable journey over 1,170 miles, trying to evade capture and find a safe haven.
Their military skill during this flight was truly remarkable.
Yeah,
They won several key battles against the odds, demonstrating incredible tactical prowess
right.
and knowledge of the terrain.
The Battle of Whitebird Canyon is a prime example.
Yeah.
Outnumbered 2-1, the Nez Perce used that rugged landscape to their advantage. They ambushed the cavalry and inflicted heavy losses.
Wow.
It was a stunning victory that shook the U.S. military
Yeah.
and cemented Chief Joseph's reputation as a brilliant strategist.
But even with these victories, they were fighting a losing battle, weren't they?
They were.
Constantly on the move, their resources dwindling, their families suffering incredible hardship.
Their resilience is awe-inspiring.
It is.
Imagine the physical and emotional toll
I know.
of traveling for months, always looking over your shoulder, trying to protect your loved ones from the elements and from a relentless enemy.
It's heartbreaking to imagine.
It is.
And it's a testament to Chief Joseph's leadership.
Yeah.
They were able to maintain their unity and purpose for so long.
Their journey was marked by both moments of triumph
Mhm.
and devastating setbacks.
Yeah.
The Battle of the Big Hole was one such setback,
Right.
a brutal reminder of the overwhelming force they were up against.
That attack, a surprise assault on their camp by Colonel John Gibbon's forces, was particularly horrific.
Right.
Can you elaborate on the impact it had on the Nez Perce?
Sure.
Especially the sense of betrayal they must have felt.
The accounts from Big Hole are truly harrowing. The Nez Perce, caught off guard, suffered heavy losses.
Right.
Many of them women and children.
Oh, wow.
Survivors described soldiers targeting civilians, burning teepees,
Oh, gosh.
showing no mercy.
Terrible.
This betrayal, coming from settlers they had previously considered friendly, left deep scars.
Yeah.
It solidified their distrust of the U.S. government and their resolve to escape its reach. The Nez Perce story is one of incredible resilience
Right.
and strategic brilliance in the face of insurmountable odds.
Yeah.
But like you said, the fight for justice and the right to simply exist,
Right.
that didn't end there. Now we shift our focus to the Ponca tribe.
Yeah.
And their struggle for recognition as persons under the law,
Right.
a struggle that would forever change the legal landscape for Native Americans.
It's amazing how this seemingly simple question,
Yeah.
are Native Americans legally considered persons,
Right.
could become such a pivotal point in history.
It really is.
And at the heart of this story is Standing Bear, a leader whose determination to honor his son's dying wish would spark a landmark legal battle.
What's particularly striking about the Ponca case
Yeah.
is how it stemmed from a bureaucratic blunder. A case of the U.S. government essentially double booking land.
Oh, wow.
The Ponca had a treaty signed in 1858
Mhm.
that guaranteed them land along the Niobrara River in Nebraska.
Okay.
But just a decade later, the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868
Right.
promised that same land to the Sioux.
So the Ponca found themselves caught in the middle
Exactly.
of this bureaucratic mess.
Mm.
Their treaty rendered meaningless,
Precisely.
and the consequences were devastating.
They were.
The Ponca faced mounting pressure from the Sioux,
Mm-hmm.
who rightfully viewed the land as theirs.
Right.
The government, instead of rectifying its mistake,
Yeah.
opted for what seems like the easiest solution,
Right.
forcing the Ponca to relocate.
It's a familiar story.
So in 1877, the Ponca were told they had to move to Indian Territory,
Right.
which is present-day Oklahoma. It's a story that echoes the forced removals of so many other tribes.
It does.
A tragic pattern of broken promises and disregard for their well-being.
The parallels are undeniable.
Yeah,
The Ponca, like the Nez Perce, had established farms, they built homes,
right.
cultivated a deep connection to their land,
Yeah.
but their protests were ignored.
Wow.
They were forced to embark on this grueling journey, hundreds of miles in harsh conditions,
Right.
resulting in immense suffering and loss of life.
This forced removal had a profound impact on Standing Bear, didn't it?
It did.
The death of his daughter, Prairie Flower, during that journey
Mm-hmm.
must have been a deeply personal tragedy
Right.
that fueled his later fight for justice.
Prairie Flower's death became a symbol of everything the Ponca had lost.
Yeah.
It underscored that sacred connection they had to their land,
Right.
a connection that extended beyond mere ownership to encompass the spirits of their ancestors, their history, their very identity.
Right.
Her death in a foreign land far from the place she belonged.
Wow. Fueled Standing Bear's unwavering determination to return to his homeland.
And this brings us to the story of his son, Bear Shield,
Right.
and the promise that would set Standing Bear on a collision course with the U.S. government.
Yes.
Bear Shield was a bright young man, fluent in English,
Uh-huh.
a vital bridge between his people and the Indian agents.
Right.
His death from consumption was a devastating blow to Standing Bear.
It was.
But before he died, Bear Shield extracted a promise from his father to be buried in their ancestral land along the Niobrara River.
A son's dying wish. A father's vow.
Wow.
A simple act of love and respect for tradition.
Right.
That would become a test of the very definition of personhood under U.S. law.
Standing Bear knew the risks,
He did.
but he felt compelled to honor his son's request.
Yeah.
The thought of burying him in a strange land far from the spirits of his ancestors was unbearable.
I can understand that.
So he gathered a small group of followers and set off on foot, a journey fraught with danger and uncertainty.
And, of course, their journey did not go unnoticed.
Right.
General George Crook, the same general we encountered in the Nez Perce War,
Yes.
was ordered to apprehend Standing Bear and his followers.
Here's where Crook's character really shines through.
Yeah.
Despite being a military man tasked with upholding the law,
Right.
he had a deep respect for Native Americans and a nuanced understanding of the injustices they faced. He was known for his more humane approach.
Okay.
And in Standing Bear, he saw a man driven by grief and a profound sense of duty.
So instead of simply returning them to Indian territory, Crook took a rather unusual step, didn't he?
He did.
Recognizing the power of public opinion. He reached out to Thomas Henry Tibbles, a newspaper editor,
Right.
hoping to bring the Ponca's plight to the attention of the American people.
Tibbles, initially hesitant, was eventually persuaded by the gravity of the situation.
And those articles that Tibbles published had a significant impact, didn't they?
They did.
The public outcry was swift and resounding. People were outraged by the government's treatment of the Ponca and rallied to their support.
Absolutely.
Lawyers stepped forward, offering to represent Standing Bear pro bono,
Wow.
setting the stage for a landmark legal battle.
The case, Standing Bear v. Crook,
Right.
became a focal point for this larger question of Native American rights.
Yeah.
Was Standing Bear even allowed to sue in federal court?
Right.
Were Native Americans considered persons under the law entitled to the same protections and rights as any other citizen?
It was a question that had never been definitively answered before.
It hadn't.
And Standing Bear himself, through his eloquence and the sheer moral weight of his story,
Right.
played a crucial role in swaying public opinion and ultimately the court's decision.
Absolutely.
His speech in the courtroom, delivered through an interpreter, was a powerful testament to his humanity
Yeah,
and the injustice his people had faced.
it was.
Can you tell us more about the impact of his words?
Standing Bear's speech resonated deeply with those who heard it. He spoke of feeling pain, of bleeding the same color blood,
Wow.
of having the same hopes and dreams as any other man.
Powerful.
He addressed Judge Elmer Dundee directly stating, "You are that man,"
Wow.
placing the burden of justice squarely on the judge's shoulders.
Yeah.
It was a powerful appeal to their shared humanity, a reminder that beneath those differences in culture and appearance,
Right.
they were all fundamentally the same.
It must have been a truly electric atmosphere in that courtroom.
I imagine so.
A moment where the legal system and public opinion and the very definition of what it meant to be human
Yeah.
all converged.
Judge Dundee's ruling in Standing Bear v. Crook was indeed a watershed moment.
So what did he rule?
He declared that Native Americans were persons within the meaning of the law
Wow.
and therefore possessed the right to sue in federal court.
That's huge.
It was a victory for Standing Bear, allowing him and his followers to return to their beloved Niobrara River, and a significant legal precedent for Native American rights.
But as we've seen time and again, legal victories don't always translate into sweeping change.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Did this ruling fundamentally alter the government's approach to Native American affairs?
Sadly, no. While Standing Bear's case chipped away at the legal framework that had for so long denied Native Americans basic rights,
Right.
it didn't lead to widespread freedom of movement or an end to the reservation system.
Right.
The government, eager to maintain control, worked diligently to limit the ruling's broader implications.
So Standing Bear wins his personal battle, is reunited with his ancestral home.
Right.
But his people, along with countless other tribes, remain largely confined to reservations.
Yes.
Their way of life disrupted their futures uncertain.
It's a bittersweet victory,
It is.
highlighting that long and arduous path toward justice and reconciliation.
And remember Chief Joseph,
Of course.
despite his eloquence, his tireless advocacy for his people's right to return to their homeland in the Wallowa Valley, his efforts were ultimately unsuccessful.
They were.
He died in 1904 on the Colville Reservation in Washington state, far from the land he loved.
It's a stark reminder of the limitations of legal victories,
Yeah.
of the deep-seated prejudices and political agendas
Right.
that can hinder progress.
But even amidst these setbacks, there's a sense of hope, isn't there?
I think so.
A recognition that individuals like Standing Bear and Chief Joseph, through their courage and unwavering commitment to justice,
Yes.
can shift the narrative,
Absolutely.
plant seeds that may take generations to fully blossom.
Their stories expose the complexities of this era,
Yeah.
a period marked by broken treaties, forced assimilation, and the erosion of Native American cultures.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
But it also showcases the resilience of the human spirit,
Yes.
the power of a single voice to challenge injustice.
Standing Bear's legacy, for example, continued to inspire long after his death.
How so?
Over a century later, in 2019, a statue of him was placed in the U.S. Capitol Statuary Hall, a permanent tribute to his courage and his fight for recognition.
It's a reminder that progress, however slow and incremental, is possible.
It is.
And it underscores the importance of understanding this history,
Yeah.
of learning from the mistakes of the past,
Right.
and working towards a future where the rights and dignity of all people are respected and upheld.
These deep dives into history, they're not just about recounting events, are they?
No, they're not.
They challenge us to confront uncomfortable truths, to grapple with the complexities of the past,
Yeah.
and to use that knowledge to inform our present and shape a better future.
So as we conclude this deep dive, I'm left with a question for you, dear listener.
Okay.
What resonates with you most from these stories? What lessons can we draw from the experiences of the Nez Perce and the Ponca tribes?
Yeah.
And how can we apply those lessons to the challenges we face today?
That's a good question.
The journey toward reconciliation and understanding is ongoing,
It is.
and we each have a role to play.